What's going on, Owl Science? This is your science teacher, Mr. O, with your first really official set of flip notes that you're doing at home. So let's move on and get started. In your table of contents, this is going to be number 8, Layers of the Earth flip notes. So table of contents is going to be number 8. If you don't do this at home, that's quite okay. We will do it in class on Monday. Keep in mind these things when you're doing flip notes. These are always important to remember. You can always pause the video. So if you're writing the notes, you can pause the video to copy the slide. Remember, each slide in the notes material is required for you to write down. So you need to have these all in things in mind because these will be on quizzes and tests and projects. If you have any questions while you're doing this, please write them down. That is the point of flip notes. And at the end of this video, you should have your notes completed. I will check those on Monday. And if you have any questions, please have them written down for me so on Monday we can discuss the questions you had. Well, let's get started. So on your piece of paper, first thing you're going to write down is 4 major layers of Earth. There are 4 major layers of the Earth. One of them is kind of broken into 2, and we'll talk about that in just a second. The first of which is what you stand on, which is known as the crust. The second is the mantle. Now the next 2 are actually one layer, but they're broken into 2 different sections because they're made of different things and they have different characteristics. The first of which is the outer core and then the inner core. So if you're moving from the top of the Earth to the bottom of the Earth, you move from the crust to the inner core. That would be the center, and then you can work your way back out, getting to the crust on the other side. So in your notes, you're going to make up this table. You need to know the composition. If you don't know the word composition means, it's what something is made of. You're going to make this table in your notes. You need to know the layers from the outside to the inside, meaning from where you are to the inner core of the Earth. And there's these 4 layers. And the composition of each, I'm going to keep it pretty general because in 6th grade you just need to know the general, what they're made of, materials. The crust is made of solid rock, meaning its state of matter is solid and it's made of rock. The mantle is made of liquid, semi-solid rock. It's almost like a solid, but it's super thick, but it's still in a liquid state. It does move. The outer core is liquid metal. There's different types of metal that make the outer core, but it is mainly liquid metal. And then the inner core is solid metal. So those are the major layers. The next section in your notes, you have to know the 2 sublayers of the Earth. And the 2 sublayers of the Earth are known as the lithosphere and the asthenosphere, and we'll talk more about those in just a minute. So under these 2, you're going to make another table. You're going to make a table of saying sublayer and its composition. Remember, composition is what it's made of. So in this first section, we're going to talk about the lithosphere is made up of tectonic plates. Its location is the entire crust and a little bit of the upper mantle. The asthenosphere is just below the tectonic plates, and it's located in the upper mantle. So the lithosphere and the asthenosphere are touching. So the lithosphere floats on the asthenosphere. The next section is another mini table. You have to know the thickest and thinnest layer. You also have to know the most and least dense layer. By traits, the mantle is the thickest layer, by far the thickest layer. The crust by far is the thinnest layer, the smallest. The most dense, and we'll talk about what density is later, is known as the inner core, and the least dense is the crust. So if you look at it, the crust has actually 2 special qualities. It's the thinnest and the least dense. Next is something you need to know called convection currents, and this is just a definition, and we'll use the word convection in several different units this year. By definition, convection currents is the transfer of heat in a liquid by the movement of fluid itself. Hot rises, cool falls in a circular motion. That's what's the current part of it. Now, if you think about it, there's only 2 layers that were liquid when we talked about what they're made of. So we're going to talk about the location of convection currents and what they cause. Remember, these are the 2 layers of the Earth that were made up of liquid. So the mantle has convection currents and the outer core also has convection currents. What they cause is different in each. So in the mantle, it causes the plate tectonics to move, and we'll get more into that. So we do layers of Earth, then we move into plate tectonics. The second of which is the outer core, also made of liquid metal, and one of the things that it creates is the Earth's magnetic field. Now, a common misconception is people think magnetic field means gravity, and that does not mean that at all. It means like why GPS and compasses work. That's the magnetic field. So the Earth's magnetic field is caused by 2 different things. The first of which is what we just told you about. convection currents in the outer core, and the second of which, because the Earth is rotating on its axis, which means it's spinning on its axis, those two things together make up why the Earth has a magnetic field. And the last thing you need to know in your notes is as you travel to the center of the Earth, 3 things happen. Number 1, it gets hotter. The temperature drastically increases as you get deeper into the Earth. The second of which, it gets denser. It gets more dense. So as you travel to the center, the density of the layers gets increased drastically. And the third thing is pressure increases as you get to the center. I always think of like when a sports team wins a championship and the person on the bottom and everyone jumps on top of them. That person on the bottom has the most pressure on them, just like the inner core has the most pressure. All right, that's the end of your flip notes. Remember, have these written down. I'll be checking these on Monday. Any questions you have, we will discuss these in detail on Monday.